How you guys doing? Jaya Figueres here with the Cats Not Bears Sports Podcast. I'm here with Sire Woods. He's an incredible guest. Sire is a recent graduate of the University of Pennsylvania, where he made his mark both on the football field as a standout player and in the classroom as a graduate of the prestigious Wharton Business School. Balancing the rigors of an Ivy League education with the demands of college athletics is no small feat, but Sire rose to the challenge with grit, determination, and a vision for success. Sire's journey is one of dedication, resilience, leadership, offering valuable lessons not just for high school athletes, but for their parents and coaches as well. Whether it's tips for balancing academics and athletics, insights into college recruitment, or advice on preparing for life after football, Sire's story is one that will inspire and empower. So let's dive into this journey, uncover what it takes to perform at the highest level. So welcome, Sire.
What's up? Thank you for having me, Jai. I appreciate you. Happy to be here.
Let's just jump right into the shout outs, man. Who do you want to shout out right now?
Right off the top of the head, got to shout out Coach Machete, but now he's at St. Paul, was my coach over at La Mirada. Helped me get to where I am in terms of the college scholarship offers and, getting those looks. My parents, couldn't do anything without them and the frameworks that they set up when I was a kid growing up. And my little brother, Sultan. Shout out to all of the family.
Nice. Number one, what are you doing now? What are you doing for work right now?
Yeah, so right now I'm a product marketing manager at American Express. I'm working on the V-Payment product team. I also have a couple of side ventures. I own a marketing consultation company that pretty much works on brand identity, social media management, and pretty much setting up your online presence for small businesses and also for athletes' brands. And on top of that, I also teach financial literacy up at the Upper Bound program right now at Cal State Long Beach. So,
what's the name of your company?
Royalty Brand Marketing. Yes, sir. It'll be at Royalty Brand Marketing and also website royaltybrandmarketing.com.
Awesome. What advice would you give to your high school athletes who dream of playing college football at an Ivy League school?
Well, first of all, just congrats on even, considering going to an Ivy League, going that Ivy League route. Something that they brought up a lot during those recruitment trails versus, the Ivy Leagues versus normal schools is choosing that 40-year plan versus that 4-year plan. So it's like a big pivotal idea behind that is, you're choosing to obviously go for expanding your network and, putting yourself ahead in life with that 40-year plan. Going to an Ivy League school, obviously it's going to set you up for life a lot more than if you just go to any other, just school that's just good at football. So kudos to you thinking about that if you are looking to pursue Ivy League schools. On top of that, getting into kind of what I would say, what you need to look out for and be prepared for is having time management skills. You need to set up, those good habits when you're coming up in high school to prepare yourself the best. Because, going from, that 6 a.m., 5 a.m. meetings and practice and then going out and doing, what top 1% of the United States can do academically. It's very hard. It's very challenging. There's a lot of late nights that are spent studying and wake up and then have to go to do football or go to whatever sport you're doing. So definitely have to set up good time management skills and know when to buckle down, I would say.
And I've heard about the alumni network, the Ivy League alumni network. Is that a real thing, or is that, something that's just a legend, old
Yeah.
wives' tale?
No, definitely. No, that network definitely comes in handy. I can't even count the amount of times I've just reached out to just other football alumni or just people from Wharton. And there's just that connection and bond, and automatically they're going to help you out in whatever way they can. So it definitely comes in handy. Pretty much everyone that comes out of Wharton for the most part is going to be successful. So you have a lot of different connects and networking opportunities you can do. And when it comes to career shifts or anything like that down the line, you need an internship, you need to hit somebody up. There's a bunch of times I can think of where I've leaned on the Ivy League network or just the Penn Football Network to help me out.
Okay, so it's a real thing.
Yeah, definitely.
For parents, what role did your family play in your journey as a student athlete?
I mean, they've set up everything for me. It was kind of my parents that set the kind of that expectation to excel. They kind of like set up the standard, right? You hear that kind of a lot all over the place. It's probably coaches tell you guys that all the time as athletes, I'm sure. But establishing the standard even within your household, and it's something that my parents did pretty much from a super young age. It's like an expectation that I'm supposed to go to college, I'm supposed to get a degree, especially being a Black man in America. You got to set yourself ahead as much as you can. And for me, football was just like a pathway for me to do that. On top of that, it was also a passion. So, it was something that I was able to pursue pretty hard. So it worked out very, very well in my case, especially being able to go to an Ivy League school at the end of the day. But so I'm setting up those standards and, that expectation of come home from practice, you go do your books, you make sure you get all your nutrition in, and you stay pretty much grounded in what you're doing and know what your goals are. Just having those constant reminders is definitely something that helped me out a lot along the way. And that's something that my family helped me with.
So knowing your dad, I know your dad coached you for a long time. He was a mainstay. I mean, he's still there working in the Long Beach community, working with the youth athletes. How is that, having your dad as a coach and just having a parent that's that knowledgeable about the game?
It's crazy. It definitely helps you out a lot. There are times, when you're younger, obviously, it's not necessarily the funnest thing having your coach come home with you after practice, especially if you had a bad practice. But it helped out a lot. And I still, just love him so much for the amount of work and effort he put in. Because just background on my dad, he was a karate guy. He was a world champion, 3rd-degree black belt in karate growing up. So didn't really, he was a fan of the game, didn't really know much about it, but he literally hit the books just for me, knowing that it was a passion for me, so he can then go out and coach me to the best of his ability. And, I still just can't appreciate him enough for how it turned out. Definitely love him for it.
Next question we got here. What's your best machete story you have? What's a good, take your time. I can edit this. All the pauses can be cut out.
Oof.
You got a good machete story.
Every time. Was that?
Or it could be inspiring, it could be funny. I know machete has a lot of different layers to them.
Yeah.
What's one of your favorite best stories?
I still think one of my the trademark machete story in my head is it's not as funny, it's more inspirational, but it was also funny at the same time. This guy's kind of crazy. But I think I want to say it was going into our CIF championship, right? This is a regional game right before the CIF championship. We're going against Lucerna. We're pretty much getting ready for the game. Everyone's getting pumped up. Some of the guys, it's our crosstown rivals, so there's a lot of tension. He comes out for the pregame speech and he starts talking about this old story with the Nordics and how they used to take over, going throughout Europe and pillaging and stuff like that. And he talks about how they would go to a new country and go by water, obviously by the boats, and they have whole armies going by boats. They would literally burn all their boats, pretty much signifying, we're not turning back. It's either we're going to die here or we're going to keep pushing forward. And he was just like, we're here. It's either you just do or die. So y'all better push through and get it, basically.
Man.
And that story stuck with me forever. It's crazy. He's a big history buff, big World War II guy. He would always go around practice. It would be 110 degrees out in the turf, and he'll be like, this isn't as bad as back when I was in Nam. We're all like, Coach, what are you talking about? The guy's a character.
I used to hang out with Coach Machete at lunchtime and snack time at La Mirada High School, man. It's not even the same without him there. So
Dude's a great guy.
Shout out to Coach Machete. Next question.
Yeah.
Next question we got here. Were there any decisions that your family made early on that help you stay on track towards your goals?
For sure. One thing that comes to mind mostly would be, that change going from my freshman year. I started off at Mater Dei. And it's a great school, great academics, but it was just, it was a 45-minute drive away from where I was. You had to pay tuition, and the football side wasn't really, playing out to my talents, essentially. Their offense wasn't really using the tight end the way that I'm usually used. And it wasn't looking like it would be the best pathway for me to get into college and be able to showcase my talents in that way. So my parents, luckily I was blessed enough to find Coach Machete at La Mirada, someone that has great connections with a lot of colleges. He puts his guys forward and, showcases their talents really great. And my parents were along with me every step of the way and moving me to a different school and kind of going through that change. And something that I really appreciate from them, just, going hand in hand with me as I try to, pursue my passions. They could have just been like, no, you're staying at this great private school and, football's not for you. But instead, they stayed along with me and it worked out really well.
And how many offers did you have in high school?
I ended up with 22 full ride.
22 full ride.
Yep.
Offers.
Yes, sir.
Like committable scholarships.
Yeah.
So what's your take on what's going on right now with NIL and, you see how college, it seems to be year to year, let's say, I mean, if there's a parent right now, they're about to put their kid, let's say they're going into their freshman year, high school, maybe 8th or ninth grade. What kind of advice would you give them if they wanted to pursue sports after high school?
Man, just going directly towards that NIL question. It's been crazy. Something I wish I had when I was, to be honest with you. There's so many new opportunities.
Yeah.
A lot of new opportunities for these kids. I mean, it is shaking up the climate a lot. Obviously, you have a lot of people going in transfer portals, kind of, for lack of a better word, chasing the bag when it comes to finding new NIL deals at different schools. It just brings in a whole new, factor in the whole recruitment game and everything going on. But honestly, for advice for kids that are coming up, or not kids, but high schoolers that are coming up, trying to pursue and play football at the next level and also dealing with NIL, I would say it's important to establish your brand. And this is not just coming from someone that owns a marketing consultation company, but you need to have a personality, something that, brands can be attracted to. These coaches and these teams are now looking and finding value in that also. And it's just something to help promote yourself even more. There's just a lot of opportunities out there for these athletes to be making. And if you don't have a social media presence or a brand or something that you can share with others in terms of, your social presence, then you're just missing out on a lot of opportunities.
So would it be something like, am I trying to get a bunch of followers on social media or
really
okay, I guess here's my question. Is the amount of followers I have on social media, how much does that weigh towards how good of a football player you are?
Well, it does not. It definitely will not. Nah, they're definitely, the football and the NIL are two kind of separate things. I'm just saying, with you being an athlete, there's a lot of avenues for you to take advantage of while being it, but athlete, NIL, two totally separate things, in my opinion. Obviously, great players are going to get more NIL deals because their faces are in newspapers more often and those kind of things. So obviously, you need to take care of, what you're doing on the field first before you even think about any of this. But in order to make the most of, the NIL climate that we're in now, I would just say to have that brand presence and availability. Now, you don't have to get into, being a whole social influencer and, doing the whole TikTok dances and all that. I'm not saying all that, but it definitely helps just to be on there and, just share the things that you like. Just have a little bit of personality and show people, who you are as a person on social media.
And any advice on how should student athletes present themselves on social media? Any do's or don'ts or?
Absolutely. Yes. So, I mean, your social media, just like I said, there's a lot of opportunities that can come from it. There's a lot of bad things that can also come from it. It's literally a resume. If these coaches are first looking at you, the first things that I always say that they look at are going to be your grades, your social media, and then they talk to your coach and then film, right? They're not going to go and look at your film just to find out, oh, your grades are not going to make it at our school, especially with Ivy League schools. They won't even, that's the first thing before they even hear your name, they're going to look at your grades. So that's something you definitely want to make sure is on point. But going back to the social media, I kind of went on a tangent there. You need to make sure that it's a resume and a perfect representation of yourself. You don't want to have any negative things. No, no gang affiliate, none of that. No guns, drugs, nothing like that. Don't be bad mouthing girls or anything like that on there. You want to put your best image of yourself forward, because otherwise no one's going to want to deal with. No one wants to link your image, especially now with NIL. It's even more tied to these organizations, to these universities. They don't want to have a player come to their school and have, bad press because you posted something about a girl using derogatory terms or something stupid like that. That can be totally avoidable, right? So make sure you're presenting yourself in the best light whenever you're on social media, and everything is traceable. Do not think that things are private. Everything can be picked up through a background check or through whatever can be leaked. Snapchat, everything is not deleted.
Screenshots.
Yep, there's screenshots. There's too many people that get caught up on social media. Be careful when you're on there for sure. But also show your personality at the same time.
As far as NIL, where is the money coming from? The university, and the university is paying the athlete, or are there 10 companies that are coming to one athlete? Like, where is the money actually coming from?
So it's actually other businesses that are coming in and basically giving these players deals to pair their name, like image or likeness, whatever it may be, with their brand, for whatever promotional, whatever the contract is. So say, the perfect example, Cam Rising, quarterback of Utah when I was there, I'm pretty sure he's still there, got a NIL deal with Toyota, and they literally gave him a car, like just to drive around for the season.
Right.
And he had to do a couple of social media posts about Toyota, their little sale that they had going on in Utah. But
Right.
that's a part of the contract. Another NIL deal that I was a part of was with a real estate company based out of Utah when I was at Utah. Essentially, all I had to do was do a couple of posts with their gear on, pretty much calling to the brand, and I got a bunch of stuff. Plus, I got some money from it. So there are different brands that will come in and companies that will come in that were looking for athletes to pair their brand with for whatever promotional posts, or say it be a commercial in some cases, or whatever it might be.
So is that something that you're equipped to do, like as far as with your Wharton business degree? So like, let's say if I'm an athlete, could I come to Sire Woods, with your background and your your degree? Is that something that an athlete and their parents could come to you for?
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah, it's something that I specialize in, is setting up brands and brands identity, especially for young athletes. Since I was an athlete back in the day, it's for sure something that I could do and set up to make them most promotable for these new businesses and stuff that want to find athletes to promote.
I might have an athlete I want to send your way.
Okay, cool.
Female athlete.
Oh, sick.
Let's see. Okay, here's a question. What can high school coaches do better to prepare their players for the demands of college football and academics?
Definitely a lot. There's a good amount that they can do in terms of setting up their structure to mirror college practices, right? Because that's the first thing that everyone talks about, moving up levels. Whenever you go to college, when you go to NFL, all those players say the tempo gets picked up, right? Because you're dealing with people that are much more serious about the game, that are much more into it, and competitive, right? So the pace of practices to showing up to meetings on time, to having like the structure set up of practices and everything changes when you go up a level. So I would say if high school coaches can set up their practices and their whole programs as much like a college program as they can, it's going to help these kids like so much when they get to the next level, because they've already seen it. They're already used to that tempo. They already went through a lot of it.
So with what you learned at, being under Coach Machete over at La Mirada High School, now at St. Paul, did his coaching style prepare you for college?
Definitely. He was one of those guys that definitely had some structure in everything he did. From us having to be on meetings on time, otherwise there's consequences. You have these different structures and time frames set up for every meeting. Like you have to go to this meeting. Once practice started, it's set up. There's a certain time frame for warm up, certain time frame for indie drills, certain time frame for offense, defense. You get into your live period. Everything's split up into periods, and everything is running smoothly, and everything's high tempo. Like you're never just going to be standing around. That's how it works when you get to the college level, and especially in the league. You're never just going to be stagnant for too long, right? They want to have everything flowing, have everything be efficient, and try to get as much done as physically possible. And Machete was great at setting that up. So he definitely prepared us for that.
How important is it for coaches to emphasize life skills, not just athletic performance, but life skills?
It's detrimental. You hear so many about these kids that come out of football and, don't know how to do anything, how to be an adult, how to having good character, just being trustworthy. So these are things that you have to be able to set up, especially as a coach. You're still grooming and teaching young men how to be adults. And something my dad always says is football is a microcosm of life. There are a lot of life skills that can be taken out of football and applied into your real life. And if these coaches aren't capitalizing on those life lessons and like kind of ingraining it into the kid's actual life, then they're missing out a lot of the game that they could be getting for sure.
And where do you see, where do you see football moving to, like in the next 5 years? Do you see any big predict any big major changes or any shifts coming?
Feel like there's already been a pretty big shift with just the age that kids are getting recruited nowadays. With this new NIL stuff and, kids getting ranked earlier and earlier. Like I see it now. I've got also volunteer coach with the Long Beach Patriots this past season. There are kids out there that are like getting all this media attention. They're like 6. Like it's crazy. You
I
have
think your dad told me about a kid.
Yeah.
The little
kids
running
out
back.
there mic'd up at 6 years old, running around, cussing kids out. Like it's crazy. The climate of football is changing with social media and with the coming of NIL, I guess. So you have a lot of kids that are getting ranked, a lot of kids going to these big time camps at the younger ages, So I think there's a lot more push on starting earlier and a lot of push on, again, that social media presence. And, there's a little bit of a wow factor that has to come. Some people have to know your name in order for it. There's a little bit of politics that might be coming into play, where it's not as so much, if you're going to be a good player, you're going to be fine. You gotta go to these camps. You got to get ranked. It's starting to become more and more, kind of not glorified or glamorified, but I think you understand what I'm trying to say. Like,
yeah. Glamorized.
Yeah.
And would you say that's is that good that you have to start earlier? Is that okay? Is that good? Is it bad? Or is it something like you just got to jump on, you got to get with it, or totally?
It can go either way.
It
can go either way. Like in the worst cases, it could be, that there's a kid that's like politicized that, got all these rankings coming in and a coach might be more inclined to play him just because, fans and the boosters might be, well, why is he not playing? Like he's like a 5-star recruit and he's been a 5-star recruit since he was 10. Why is he not playing? Like, what are you doing wrong? Because there is a lot of pressure that coaches get in terms of politics and things like that people don't really see and know about. That just happens with the sport of football, which might be upticking. So I don't know. I don't want to say it's bad or good, because it can be used to your benefit or your detriment, but just keep working and you can control what you can control is my advice to these kids out here right now.
I'm kind of bouncing around here a little bit. Want to talk about your state championship team. I think it was 2016.
Yep.
What year was it?
2016.
2015, 2016 season at La Mirada High School. What are some of the pivotal moments? What's a pivotal moment from that season?
Honestly, I always like to tell people this because they always think I'm going to say the end of the season. But honestly, I'm just going to keep on higher with you. We did not like each other at the beginning of the season. At the beginning of the season, there were a lot of preseason fights. Like I understand, teams like we get heated. We're exhausted. But it was a lot of fighting going on. And it took us going through. Machete kind of set it up perfectly to where our whole preseason was, some powerhouse teams. We played, St. John Bosco. We played San Clemente. We played a Mater Dei that preseason. Like pretty much I don't remember if we played Servite that year, but needless to say, we went through the ringer that preseason.
Yeah. Orange Lutheran?
I think it was Orange Lutheran. Yeah, you're right.
So or was that in playoffs you played them? I forget.
No, I know we played them. That was a preseason game. But,
okay.
Dude, so we went through the ringer our preseason, and that ended up bringing us together and teaching us how to kind of, go through that adversity and, know that we can come back and try to bond as a team. And from there, we kicked everyone's butt. I want to say, I'm going to mess up the stats. I don't want to say it, but we only got scored on, I think after those preseason games, it was 77, and it was like the score that we ended up scoring ourselves was like 600 something for the rest of the entire season, all the way through postseason. So we ended up dominating the rest of that season because of it. But yeah, we did not like each other. It took us a minute to get that bond together. That's something I always like to tell people because they're like, well, how'd you guys bond so well? I was like, well, it just happened with adversity.
You're like junkyard dogs.
Yeah.
There was like an original, initial craziness, but then you guys got to know each other, and I've actually heard some stories like about what you're talking about. I think from Coach Land, he was saying the same thing. So
Coach Land, the enforcer. Yep. Yeah. No, it was a little hectic at the beginning of the season, but we bonded, so it worked out.
So you mentioned that you're at youth football, working with Long Beach Patriots. What are some of the changes that you've seen in youth football compared back to when let's say you played?
A whole lot. I feel like there was a lot less of the, there were the, obviously, look good, play good, like to a certain extent, but now it's like, it's so glorified. And I feel like I don't know if it's just social media or if it's just, these NFL players and just them being the influencers they are, looking pretty on game day and then going out and balling out. But there are a lot of kids that get dressed and like, are fitted head to toe, but then don't know how to run like a basic curl route or like don't know how to run a slant route correctly, don't know how to break down. It's just a lot of, like I said, the over glorification of the game, that a lot of kids that don't really know what it takes to play football, but they want to go out there and look pretty and do all the catching and all that. But yeah, again, they don't know what it is to work and they don't know what it is to feel a little bit of pain in the sport. So it gets a little rough once they get hit.
Right.
Got a lot of that right now in youth football. Also, on a side note, this is just a random tangent. I don't know what is up with this. I saw it in NFL. I've seen it in college ball, and now youth players are doing it too. What is up with the 2 pacifier thing? I don't, what is going on? And then they don't have either of them in. Like, I was a pacifier guy. Like, I used to wear it. I gotta
like, see it. I gotta see it. I'm
dude,
gonna Google it.
There's so many players doing that now. It's the weirdest thing.
Right. Okay, I'm gonna find it right now. There's a cutaway right now of that.
Please.
So I'm putting it up.
Please do. It's the weirdest thing ever. I need somebody to explain it to me. Yes, I've seen it multiple times. Multiple wide receivers doing it. I want to say Travis Hunter was doing it at one point this past season.
Oh, man,
dude, it's the weird. I don't get it. But like one of them will be in one play and then like, or they'll have a pacifier and it won't be in. So it'll be dangling all around. I'm like, how do you, like, that's a whole distraction, like trying to catch the ball. And anyways, I digress.
You got to be real good. If you're doing that, you better run a damn.
I'm saying, yeah, you better not drop anything. Like
nothing.
If you do, I'm getting you one of those hard-boiled black water mouthpieces.
Yeah, the black water. Okay, last couple questions. See all this silence? The app closes
cuts
the
it
silence.
Right out.
Yeah, it cuts it out.
That's awesome.
So
that's so dope.
Okay, we're almost okay. Life skills and leadership. So how has football taught you life lessons that you still apply today?
I mean, I've been playing it since I was 4, so it's a pretty big part of, my development and who I am, for sure. Going back to, again, my dad calling it the microcosm, football being a microcosm of life. There's a lot that I've learned from it, from figuring out my leadership style. A lot of people have different leadership styles. Some are the rowdy dudes, some are the quiet, not really do much, or just like, sit back and watch. Kind of finding out my leadership style within football and then applying that to my real life has been like one of the bigger things, for sure. Especially and also just coming to my own, learning, things take work. They'll take time, in order to actually process and come to fruition. You're not going to just be an amazing football player in one day. You're not going to be great at anything in one day. It's going to take work. And if you do become great at something in one day, it's probably not going to be very consistent, right? It's not going to last very long. So, it's just knowing that stuff take time. And also learning, to get back up after you get knocked down and, knowing that there's some people that are going to be better than you at certain things and you have to know how to adjust and adapt. That's definitely something that I've taken in my life, especially with different adversities I've hit with football. Having, my ACL be torn, pretty much everything in my knee be torn, and then having to come back and play, learning how to run, walk, cut again, and getting my confidence back from that. It's definitely something that I apply in my everyday life, for sure.
So last question. So for the audience out there, I started training. When's your birthday, man?
August 3rd.
August 3rd. So did you just turn 13 or were you 12? 2012.
I want to say I was 12, about to turn 13 or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Something like that. But I started training Sire around 12 or 13 years old with the Cats Not Bears concepts. And basically, main goal was to get him to move, efficiently, multi-directionally. I have a bunch of videos on him in my Cats Not Bears program. I was actually just looking at it today and realizing how much video I actually have with both you and, Elijah Hicks. Still got Curtis Weaver on there.
Yeah.
How did that training prepare you and help you for college
Oh, dude, it was
and high
amazing.
school, I guess, high school and college?
Yeah, it was amazing. It honestly helped me set up what my play style was, having the ability to, a lot of the concepts that come with cat not bears is the ability to move in an unorthodox way, right? Being able to, be shifted one way, but then bounce back and be able to go the other direction. And not necessarily like a lot of other training programs where it's just linear movement. You did a lot of unilateral movement, and that helped me a lot throughout football, and having be able to set up my agility and being able to have those quick twitch muscles and playing the way that I developed in my path throughout my career. So it's definitely amazing. Set me up very, very well for my career for sure.
Yeah, your footwork, you're very efficient in your movement. I just remember going out to camps and seeing kids. Some kids would be bigger, faster, and stronger than you, but once you put the cones up and you actually had to actually move around the cones and move multi-directionally, just your efficiency puts you ahead of those guys.
Definitely. It's thanks to casting up bears for sure.
So that last question for you, is there any question that I should have asked you?
Trying to remember what I said yesterday. All right. It was how to get, yeah.
Take your time.
I would say a question that I would want you to have asked would be actually, question I would want you to ask would be how to not get on the bad side of a coach.
How do you not get on the bad side of a coach?
Hey, you just got to listen to their teachings and make sure that you're showing up on time. You don't want to show up to meetings not on time. You want to make sure that you're coachable. You don't want to be out there, doing your own thing and not absorbing their teachings, because then it just feels like you're a waste of time, and they're not gonna want to pour into you, right? So make sure that you are coachable and that you're on time, please. There's a guy, one of my best buddies, played DN at UPenn. He'll know once he hears this. Never on time, and the coaches did not exactly like him. Yeah, you might have to just go ahead and put his face there, just like a side tweet of him. I'm doing the side eye at him, but nah, make sure you're on time. Respect their time, because they're out there to pour into you and try to make you a better football player. So yeah, you don't want to be on the bad side of coach.
Yeah, definitely. Just piggybacking off of what you just said, college coaches, a lot of times, they have their kids at school. They have a house there. They're paying bills. They've moved their family all the way across the country just to come to that school. There's so much pressure on that coach to perform. And if you're not helping that coach to perform, then you just become like a headache. So definitely don't want to be a headache.
No, do not want to be a hindrance.
So last shout outs, last words, Sire.
Shoot. Appreciate you, Jai. You've been, like you said, known you for 12 plus years now?
Yeah.
Very long time. He's been one of the greatest supporters in my career and also in my life. And I appreciate you. Again, just shout out my parents, all my family, giving me my support, and shout out to all the homies up that helped me get through Warden and all those classes too. Appreciate you. And yeah, thank you for having me, Jay.
Before you go, Sire, who should we get on here next? Who do you suggest we get on here?
You got to try to get Elijah on here.
Elijah Hicks, man. Elijah's hard. He's hard to find, man.
I know.
Definitely got to get Elijah on here. Then we got to get both of you guys on here.
Yeah, that's the day one epic gym.
You guys have put in a lot of hours, man.
For sure.
So, man, Sire Woods, appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
Cats Not Bears Sports Podcast, number 2.